The Honda Civic dates back to the 70s. In the 80s, we received a four-door. The redesigned 11th generation Euro-inspired hatchback is here. Matt from Regal Honda has given us the 2022 Honda Civic Hatch Sport 2.0 in your lunar silver metallic. The five-door versatility, coupe-like profile, almost looks like a sedan from different angles. Interior is also inspired to be more clean, more simple, less clutter. But is it as good as the 10th generation or the Mazda 3 hatch or the Toyota Corolla hatch? More than 20% of the sales for Civic is the hatchback. So Honda has a lot going on the line. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and we're going to go over all the specs and details starting now. The new Honda hatch will sit different. The European-inspired styling will also have a visual look from the exterior, easier from the front because the A-pillars have been pushed back nearly 2 inches. A long, flat, aerodynamic hood is still implemented. The grille is going to be different between the sedan and the hatch. The hatch is going to have the honeycomb with the Honda badging inside. With the sedan, it's going to be 3 horizontal bars, and the Honda badge is going to be up more. You're going to have more of a closed area here to give more of an aggressive styling, and it implements into these LED headlamps. On the lower sporty bumper, it's also going to be a little bit more of a wider track at 70.9 inches and a height of 55.7 inches. It still has good clearance at 6.7 inches. You'll have your fog lamp assembly. The honeycomb enters into the lower part as well, and it still gives that sporty styling. When we're comparing this against the Mazda 3 hatchback, that's going to be more of a round structure. This one's going to be more of a sleek profile. Comparing it to the Toyota Corolla, it's going to be a shorter hood, but a larger grille. The front fenders are also going to be lower. It's going to encase these 18-inch black 5 double-spoke alloy wheel. 11.1 inches is the disc rating. It's ventilated. A 10.2-inch solid rear. They're single piston calipers. Rework suspension, the bushings, the ball joints, the dampers. Honda notes that this is going to reduce the harshness and the noise by 20%. They also retuned the steering, retuned the McPherson strut front suspension and the multi-link rear suspension. The whole car is practically brand new. A length at 179 inches, which is going to be shorter than the sedan. The wheelbase at 107.7 inches, which is going to be about 1.4 inches more than the 10th generation. The coupe-like profile inspired by the European Sportback. That's what you can see from the side. They've also added corner rear window, which is going to add for visibility and make more of a spacious and airy feel in the interior. The roof is going to go all into that one-piece hatch window. The rear overhang and overall length are 4.9 inches shorter than the sedan. The sleek roof line is a new lightweight composite hatch, and by moving the hinge mechanism outwards, this allows the roof reduction of 50 millimeters in the hang area, and it's 20% lighter when you're opening it up, which you'll see in a second. New, unique LED tail lamps and a center high mounted stoplight, which goes and spins across nearly the whole hatch, which emphasizes the hatchback's wider rear track, and it just gives more of that sporty styling. Even on the lower trim, you're going to have the diffuser, and you have some exhaust outlet look. You only have one exhaust, it's going to be tucked underneath here, but if you're comparing this against that Mazda 3, Mazda 3 is going to be a little bit more sporty in the sense of roundness. This is going to be more of a coupe-like slash sedan for a hatchback, and if you're comparing it to the Toyota Corolla, I like this one a little bit better. Going inside to your cargo, 20% lighter, so it's easy to open. You're going to get 24.5 cubic feet. With the spare tire, the rear bench split folds at a 60-40 split. The best part though, this is going to be better in cargo space than the Mazda 3 and that Toyota Corolla. The Euro-inspired hatchback styling on all 4 corners is going to be different, and the way you look at it in different angles will stress either a sedan, that coupe-like image that they're looking for, or a sportback. And only really if you're going towards the rear you'll notice that it's a hatch. Honda backs the performance with a 2.0 liter naturally aspirated inline four cylinder producing 158 horsepower and 138 pound-feet of torque that's paired to a continuous variable transmission achieving 29 and 37 mpgs, which is better than the Mazda 3 hatch turbo. It's going to be a little bit less than the Toyota Corolla, 0 to 60 at 7.7 seconds. The sedan will get it about 0.3 seconds quicker. Weight distribution will be 59-41, but with the CVT, which is what we have, it's at 60-40. Stopping 60 to 0 will take about 114 feet with a quarter mile at 15.7 seconds. My comparison with this, with the Toyota and the Mazda is going to be a little bit more of a luxury, rounded off, and the Toyota is going to be a little bit more smaller styling, and it's not going to be as grown up as the Civic. But you know, the European styling, I get what they're doing. On every corner, it has a different angle to it. In some stance, you could think of this as a sedan unless you're going towards the rear or around this area because of the angle structure of the vehicle. Let me know in the comments what you think about the 2022 Honda Civic Sport Hatch. As we go into the interior, go over the tech, and take this for our test run. Entering inside the new Honda Civic Hatch, you're going to receive 37.6 inches of headroom, which is going to be about 2 inches smaller than the sedan, 42.3 inches of legroom. It's a black cloth bucket front seats, 6-way manual adjustment. The simple, clean, uncluttered interior has a outward visibility because, like we were saying on the exterior, those A-pillars were pushed back so you could see everything. Larger windows are also going to be throughout. A flat dash, new metal honeycomb instrument panels with hidden air vents with the gloss black that surrounds it, and I like how futuristic it looks. It really does have a retro 21st century look. That aluminum look's going to be in the center here. Open up and you're going to have some storage. You can move that little tray to the front or to the back. You're going to have your driving modes. Cup holders, easily fit a 16.9 ounce water bottle. I'd say a 20 ounce. The gear shifter is going to have a leather piece that's going to be attached to it. A little cubby here that you can fit a small cell phone or a larger, a 12 volt and a USB, your climate control settings. Styling cues, it does feel European, and that's really what they were going at. With this one, we're going to have a standard 7-inch color touch screen. This doesn't have your navigation. You do have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, AM, FM, 8 speakers. When you put it into reverse, you do have trajectory, and it does expand when you turn the steering wheel. You can click on the lower left to the middle, and it'll do the same thing. And if you click to the final, you're going to see a tow lineup. So you have pretty much all the visibility you need. As for elbows, gonna be super soft. New leather wrap steering wheel, multi-function with the gloss black. I like the feel to it. It's a bit more meaty, bit more texture to it. The gauge cluster is gonna have a digital screen on the left, analog on the right, and you can go through an array of information. You can change it the way you like to change it. So it is pretty intuitive for the most part. Door panel, it's going to be more or less harder materials until you get to the cloth area. One touch up and down for the front windows, no dual pane windows. Storage, you could easily fit, I would say, 4 to 5 16.9 ounce water bottles. We don't have any moonroof, but you can see it's pretty efficient, but it feels more grown up, and yet it feels a little bit larger in the interior. Let's see how I look in the back. For the back seats, I'm at 37.1 inches of headroom, 37.4 inches of legroom. I fit relatively fine. The floor is not completely flat. You do have a storage behind the passenger seat. There isn't any armrest in the Sport trim. As for the seat back here, the windows are larger. That rear small corner window does make it feel a little bit more alive back here because we don't have any pano roof, we don't have any moonroof, nothing else. So you really have to rely on all the light from the sides. Comparing it to the Mazda, this is going to have more space. Comparing it to Toyota, it has more space as well because it almost feels like it's a sedan. As for the door panel, harder materials pretty much all over. They even strip out the cloth that's going to be on it, and they only use it for your armrest area. Storage, you could probably fit 2 16.9 ounce water bottles. Let's see how I look in the center. Sitting into the center, headroom is no issue. Leg room, I'm kind of grazing the back of the driver's seat in the position I'd be sitting. However, I'm sharing real estate with my leg space and my butt space on both side occupants. Can 3 adults my size and dimensions fit? Yes. Will it be uncomfortable? Not really. The cloth actually sits down even though it kind of protrudes you up. And because I'm not really hitting anything for headroom, actually feel pretty decent. And that front window, because those A-pillars were pushed back, it actually feels like I'm not claustrophobic sitting in the center. And because it's a one-piece hatchback window, it actually makes you feel a little bit weird in the sense that I feel like I'm in a sedan, even though I know I'm in a hatch. So I do like the mix that they're doing, and I see that European twist in the interior. Taking the redesigned 11th generation 2022 Honda Civic Hatch Sport 2.0 liter out for our test run. Now, the weight distribution, because this is CVT, is not necessarily going to be something for optimal cornering and whatnot of that. You don't have 160 horsepower with this engine trim, so it's not going to necessarily go crazy, especially if you are comparing it to a turbocharged Mazda 3 hatch. That's going to be a little bit more of a dynamic drive. However, they did change the rear suspension in the Mazda 3 hatch, and I myself saw and felt a little bit of that performance drive, especially in the cornering, because of the rear suspension being altered. As for the visibility, like I was stressing through the whole review, it really is the most visual space, considering the size of the windscreen isn't enormous, but it actually looks as if it is because of those A-pillars being pushed nearly 2 inches. I know 2 inches doesn't sound like a huge difference, but believe me, when it's an engineering type of thing, it really does change the geometry and layout of the drive. We're going to change the dynamics into sport and give it some go. Here we go, guys. And you get up to speed without too many issues. It's obviously not going to be the fastest, but 0 to 60 under 8 seconds, so it is pretty sufficient for the most part. As you get up to a higher speed, the wind noise is there. You're going to hear it pretty much all over. It's a little bit thin on the windows and for the dampers. The suspension, even though it's been retuned and reworked, it still feels pretty soft. It's not as harsh, so I can feel that 20% difference. And when you think of it in logic, mathematically 20%, you would say, oh, it's not really a big deal. When you're going on a long journey and you're hitting harder terrain or anything that's impurities in the road, it really is a significant difference in the sense of the drive. As for playfulness, you can do so without any issue, and the brakes, you can stop on a dime. Turn radius at a stop point gets about 2 in a part lane, and giving it some gas to go. It's definitely not going to be as fast as that ST Ford there, so don't necessarily think of that. Unfortunately, you can't get that vehicle anymore, not for a new car. So when you're looking for hatchbacks, there's not really a lot of alternatives besides the Mazda 3 hatch, and I would recommend that you go with the turbocharged because it's a little bit more sporty and dynamic. And for the Toyota Corolla hatch, I like all three of them. The design of this one's going to be a little bit more grown up, but still has a playful youth to it, so I do like that. The safety features is unbelievable of what you get. The length of the vehicle, it doesn't actually feel that long until you look back and then you see that little window that's in the back and the rear, and then it actually says, you know what, this is a hatchback. It's pretty long. So when you sit in it, it really gives you a different vibe. It feels more like a sedan. Red light, green light, and here we go. Focus STI in front of us. He squealed, we didn't. And that's the best part about hatchbacks. I mean, you're gonna have people wanting to race you all the time, and it's just a fun, playful thing. Now, there is 3 things I like and 3 things that I dislike. If anything more than that, I'd be buying this vehicle. The 3 things that I like is how they engineered it. They really thought of every single thing. Even the side view mirrors, they made it lower, a little bit more sleek profile, so that way the visibility is still good, and you know that you're a little bit lower to the ground and yet wider. So they did a great job just giving all these attributes to stress all of the cues that they did. The second thing that I like about the vehicle is, for a long journey, super comfortable. The suspension is a lot better than the prior generation. I do like the grown-up interior, especially with that honeycomb for the instrument panel area, and everything just looks a little bit more luxurious, and it needs to when you're going against the Mazda 3, because that's premium vehicle, and this is an everyday vehicle, so I like that they're throwing in premium features in this car. The third thing that I like about the vehicle is that you get all of the safety. Honda does a great job. The disadvantage, however, sometimes when you have the lane assist or the lane centering, I should say, it sometimes wants to take over and you have to fight the steering wheel. But the sensors are awesome in the sense that they do work and it's a very safe vehicle. Three things that I dislike: starting in the back seat. They literally strip out all of the amenities for the door panel in the sense, and not even having an armrest in the sport trim, not even having any USB or 12 volt or anything. It really takes a lot of the amenities away, and it's sad to see that. I get it, it's a sport trim, but at least give us a few amenities to compensate, because every year vehicles always go up in price. The second thing that I dislike about the vehicle is that they put a CVT transmission. Yes, you can get a manual, not in the sedan, you can get it in the hatch. So that way you can still have some fun and play. Realistically, if you really want that performance, you're going to go to the SI. The last thing that I dislike about the vehicle is the fact that at this price point, it's the sport trim. I understand you have to get to the next level to get power adjustments and to get more USB ports and whatnot, but come on guys, we only have one USB port in the vehicle. If I have 5 occupants, I have a 12 volt. Am I gonna get an extension cord? Stopping in the middle of the road, giving it the gas. She gets up to speed pretty good. It's not gonna be the wow factor, but for an everyday use, you're gonna feel very luxurious. You're gonna be pretty content with it. If you put it in the econ mode, it's going to feel a little bit more sluggish. The pedal's gonna be a little bit heavier. And if you put it into your regular driving, it's obviously gonna drive the way you drive because that's the way it mimics you. But for the width, even though it feels a little bit wider in the interior, the way they laid it out, it doesn't feel overly wide. It does feel a little bit more grown up, more like an Accord, but it has a different styling persona. If you're comparing it, like I've been, to the Mazda and the Toyota interior, this is going to pretty much beat both two of them, especially for the rear in your cargo space. In the front, obviously, if you're only having 2 occupants, it really doesn't matter as long as your head and leg room is good, and it's pretty sufficient in both of those. If you're looking for dynamic driving, you're going to want to go to the Mazda 3 hatch turbo. If you're looking for everyday use, this one or your Toyota are both very comparable. The 0 to 60s are right about the same. Storage components, it does lack a little bit in the rear, but you still have efficiency that you can fit somebody in the rear, whereas in the Corolla, it's a little bit more tight. How's the drive on a long journey? It's going to be a little bit noisy, but all 3 of them are going to have that same noise filtering, and you're going to hear it through the wheel wells and through the windscreen. But for everyday use, great car. I'd like to thank Matt here at Regal Honda for giving us this 2022 Honda Civic Hatch Sport 2.0 liter for our car review. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Hawkeye community. If not, check out the merchandise, the details, the website, and everything we do here at Hawkeye Rides.